Hi guys, welcome back. We're gonna do our lesson for the week. So this is very similar to what we were doing last week, only now we're gonna look at some other trig functions. So we're gonna look at the cosecant, secant, and cotangent. And some of you were here before we've gone on this little sabbatical and we went over these three, but if you weren't here, here are your video lessons. So again, you should be putting these in your notebook. You don't need to draw the whole entire unit circle, but you should put the definitions and the examples in your notebook, and then you can use them to help you with the homework. So with these three trig functions, cosecant, secant, cotangent, we're going to use our definitions and the unit circle. So our definition, so again, we're going to let theta be an angle. That angle could be in degrees, it could be in radians, it could be a positive angle, it could be a negative angle, but that angle will be our rotation. And x comma y will be the point on the unit circle that corresponds to that given angle. So our three definitions for cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So to evaluate cosecant, which is CSC of theta, we're going to do 1 divided by the y coordinate. We're going to use this one if y is a whole number. If y is a fraction, we can say just take the reciprocal of y, which means you're going to flip the fraction, so that we don't have to do 1 divided by a fraction and do keep, change, flip. They mean the same thing, but we like to use this version, 1 over y when y is a whole number, and the reciprocal of y if y is a fraction. The next one is secant of theta, which is 1 divided by the x coordinate, or another way of saying that is to take the reciprocal of x. So if x is a whole number, we're going to use this version. If x is a fraction, we're just going to flip it. And then the third one, cotan, C-O-T of theta, is the x coordinate divided by the y coordinate. Right. So the trick is after we evaluate, we do have to simplify them as much as possible. So we're going to go through 3 examples, and then you'll have the assignment to do for the week, which will have different angles and different trig functions. So we're using our unit circle. So this is still the unit circle that we're using. All right, same points, same angles. We just now have these new 3 definitions that we're going to have. Okay, so we're just going to keep this in the corner so we can use it. For our first example, we're going to look at the secant of 60 degrees. So we want to look at the angle, 60 degrees, and then figure out what we're trying to evaluate. So in this case, secant. So using our circle, this is a positive angle in degrees. So we started our positive x-axis. We're going to revolve up 60. That will bring us here. And secant, looking at our definition, is 1 over the x-coordinate or the reciprocal of x. So looking at our x-coordinate, the x-coordinate is a fraction. So instead of doing 1 divided by 1/2, because that would be messy, we can just say take the reciprocal of 1/2, which means we're going to flip it. When you flip 1/2, you get 2 over 1, which simplifies to be just 2. So this would be our final answer of 2. The next example is cosecant of negative pi. So now we're given our angle, negative pi, in radians. So negative pi isn't listed here, but we've talked about the negative angle. So if you revolve positive pi, that would be positive 180. The negative would just be negative pi, or negative 180, which actually brings you to the same point. So now that we know we're at this point, negative 1 comma 0, we're going to go to cosecant. Cosecant says do 1 divided by the y coordinate or the reciprocal of y if y is a fraction, but y is not a fraction. Y is just 0. So when we plug it in, we do 1 divided by 0, and remember, 0 on the denominator would be undefined.